Well, we're going on the third morning. Me trying to make a video in response to Barton's video. And I think I finally, after doing 3 days of different things, figured out how to do it, how to format it so it makes sense, because there's a lot of information, there's a lot to digest, and a lot of questions and that go into his video. So, and what happened to him and the guys that he researches with, Chris, because different things happened to them. Mark was directly attacked, through his mind and through them giving him, invading his mind. While Chris, the other members of the team, they had things more similar to what I experienced as far as things following them home, and then activities around their house, supernatural activities, whatever you want to call them. And I think this is satanic or demonic activity. That's what I believe. And it's associated with what we call the Sasquatch. And that's because they're Nephilim, which a Nephilim is, I've explained several times before, is the offspring of an angel, a fallen angel, and a human woman. And then the Sasquatch, of course, are the descendants of that race. So I'm going to kind of go through this in a format of throwing up the questions and then cutting in my answers. So that way it's a little bit more organized, more concise, and I can hopefully make sense, makes a little bit more sense what's going on instead of me just rambling. So one of the questions I've been getting is what do you think those entities are, or what is controlling the Sasquatch? He calls them the predators. And I'm of the opinion those are most likely fallen angels, given their abilities. Now, there are demons, spirits, and these are the spirits of the Nephilim that have died. But they do have abilities, since they live in the spirit realm, but I don't think they have that sort of ability to manipulate people like fallen angels do. So these predators that are directing and controlling the Sasquatch and then the demons are most likely fallen angels. And so that's what I think those things are. Another question is, do you think that all Sasquatch are like this? All are involved in this plan to deceive and kill human beings via different diseases, or make them disappear, etc. I don't think they're all like this. I do think that group he dealt with told him what they told him, that he's not making it up. Now, do they all operate that way? I don't think so. It's extremely diverse. That's the one thing I found out. I kind of made the same blanket they're all evil statement early on in my research, because that's where a lot of the evidence was going. But there are exceptions, and there are some that have free will, I think, that don't participate, or due to genetics can't participate because they're just not able to, as he calls it, go in and out of the veil. They're not purebred enough to be to manipulate what they need to do. But I think what he's saying, and there could be possibly quite a large number of them participate in such activities. I'm not going to say a blanket across the board, but I think that's a possibility. Another question is, do Do you believe that all Sasquatch are out to kill people? No, I don't believe that. But like I said, it's a very complicated, very complex. It's hard to describe. The Sasquatch are like people, and they are people. So you've got all kinds of personalities and motives, and pushing in, that are mixed in there. Another question is, do you believe Mark Barton? Yes, I believe him. I believe that has happened to him and is happening. Now, I will say that I have learned through my experience that the Sasquatch people are deceivers. And could they be messing with him and deceiving him about what their purposes are? They could be. And I discussed that with him when we had our phone conversation, that they can't, even though they told him all this, they can't be trusted. I wouldn't doubt that, like I said, this group, there are groups that operate in this way and hunt human beings and use people as pawns to lure them into the woods and do awful things. But you can't, it is just, they can't be trusted. So why I think what they told him is what he got, and what they showed him, that happened, is what they showed him the truth. What's really going on, I don't know. Because in the past, I've got several people that I'm in contact with that mind speak, that talk to these things in their minds, called mind speak, mind rape, whatever you want to call it, and they voluntarily do this. And the ones that they're talking to, of course, are trying to lure them in the woods and kill them. And the relationship seems more, to the person who's having it, they think it's beneficial. And I don't think so. That's why I never let them mind speak me. They tried, and I refused to let them into my head and kept them out. But they are deceivers, and I have a set of questions, and I'd probably given this set of questions to 4 or 5 people who regularly mind speak them, and when they ask the questions I give them, do you know who God is? Do you know who Jesus is? Who are you? Where are you from? These simple questions, I've not gotten the same answer back from any of the 4 or 5. So somebody's not telling the truth here. And some of them, they all say they know who God is. All of them denied that they knew who Jesus was. They didn't have a clue who Jesus was, or said they didn't know who we were talking about. And then the answers to where did you come from, or what are you, we're your forest brothers, we're your brothers, we're the keepers of the forest. One of them was we were brought here by aliens and left. So, they just can't. There's nothing consistent about their answers. So, I don't trust them. I don't trust their motives, and don't trust. Like I said, if they all have the same source, which I think they do, and I think they are controlled by fallen angels, entities like that, evil entities, and they can't be trusted, because that's the hallmark of Satan in that realm, and they're deceivers. The Bible says that Satan is the father of all lies, so they lie constantly. So you don't know which way's up with them and what they're really doing, what their real motives are. All you know is it's nefarious, it's evil. But so let's see what other answers. Has any of these things happened to you? Yes. Some of the things are very similar. They did attempt to mind speak me, but I didn't let them in. But I did They caused me headaches, and there were some times that I had some bad dreams that I attributed to them. But I never got images or any of that type of communication. Yes, I had dark figures in and around my house. They visited my house. They left footprints in my house. They stole dog food at my house. They ran around my neighborhood. My neighbors saw them a couple times. I had orbs show up in my house. I had demonic activity inside my house, things being pushed and moved around. Like I said, waking up and seeing dark entities in my bedroom. So those things did happen. I guess you call it night terrors, where you wake up and you can't move. That happened. It doesn't happen anymore. If you've read my book, The Nephilim Among Us, I rebuked them in the name and the power of Jesus, not mine, as a Christian. That power and ability, so I called upon Jesus and went to the four corners of my property and rebuked them. And he was faithful and true. And I've said it before, it's like there's a bubble around me. They can't come on my property, but they can go around my property. And when I'm in the woods, they can approach, but it seems like, for whatever reason, it's about 300 feet, 100-yard circle. But that doesn't stop them from, I guess harassing me, I guess, if you want to call it, following me around, doing stuff. But as far as interacting, getting close, up personal, no, not anymore. Let's see. Try not to get run over. Trying to think of any other questions. I've got pictures, video of some of this craziness, and I'll show you. Have I ever seen or filmed some of these entities that were mentioned? Yes. I've got a black figure that kind of resembles a Sasquatch and some sort of little gnome-looking thing. They call it an arrow. It's a creature with a long elephant-like nose. And that materialized. I walked basically through them, and then after I walked past, they kind of materialized. They weren't completely in our realm. You could see through them, but they were there. And then once in the Great Smoky Mountains, some sort of silvery, elongated skull-like alien-type creature thing materialized, and I got that on video. I have the orbs on video, or all orbs. I took pictures of the orbs. I was on my back porch, felt something really weird, felt a presence. The motion sensor lights went off, even though it really wasn't totally dark yet. And I just, being into research, I pulled out my iPhone and did a complete 360, and I caught these orbs zipping around. And like I said, footprints at the house, stick, I guess I wouldn't call them stick structures, but they would use the trees around the house to do stuff, to, I guess, mark my house, say, hey, he lives here. I don't know. Yes, they did find my house. Is what about stories where they help people, they're good, or people have long-term relationships with them, etc. And I kind of answered this earlier, but it's the same answer. They're all different. They're all not the same. I don't trust them. I personally would not enter into any sort of relationship with one like that. I just wouldn't. But there are situations where families have grown up near them on rural properties, and there's been for one, know of a situation. I can't really get into detail because I promised the people I wouldn't. But they've got a generational relationship with a group of Sasquatch. From what I can tell, this group is not, I don't think they're not purebred, so to speak, and they do have abilities, but not all the abilities you would think they have. And these people have a relationship with them to the point of they have a photo album with pictures of them in the photo album, like a family photo album, and they interact with them like they're neighbors, like you would interact with your neighbor. Now, these people, we've not been in contact for, I guess, 3-4 years. They withdrew, not that I did anything wrong, but they were afraid that somebody would find out, and because of, the government or another group would come and exterminate them, since, they had this ongoing relationship with them, and, we're not supposed to know they exist, so to speak. So they voluntarily, they told me they would, we're going to break off communications. It wasn't anything personal. I tried to reach out to them here recently because Steve had talked about maybe trying to talk to someone who had, some really inside knowledge about them, and they would not respond. So but I say that to tell you that's a situation where, the relationship seems to be different. So you can't put this thing, Sasquatch research, whatever, the Sasquatch people, all in one box. Like I said, they're all different. Situations are unique. It's not cookie cutter. It's not one size fits all. And that's why someone can say, well, this one carried me out of the woods when I broke my ankle and took me back and saved my life. Well, that's great. I'm glad he did, or it did. And then you can hear others, where they were territorial and they were mad because you were camping in their area and they screamed and hollered at you. And then you hear others where they attack people, and yet other stories where, they've killed people. So, and other stories where they became cannibalistic. So they kidnap women and they force them to, to be maids and kidnap children and adopt them into their clan. So there's no magic answer. There's no they're all this way, and you've got to approach it that way. You've got to understand that they're a race of people. They're a tribe, just like it was when there was westward expansion. You had the Cherokees, and you had the Crow and the different Indian tribes, and each one of them interacted with the settlers, and in a different way. Some were friendly, some would kill you on sight, some were just stay away from you. They were neutral, didn't really care, and they had their own language and they had their own culture. And I think that, and so that's kind of way I view it. Something Mark said that I found was interesting, and I made this observation myself. He said, they are not us. They are not, though they are a people, their ways are not our ways. Their morality is not our morality. I've said it before, but you've got to come to the realization that with many of the Sasquatch, when you're in an encounter with them, killing you is on the menu of options. It just is. Don't look at us like we're equals. Now, in reality, we're actually above them because God created us, and their souls are not divine. And I think that's where the jealousy and the hate comes from. And that's why they try to, and they treat us, with such disrespect and with disdain. But in reality, it's the exact opposite. But their way of thinking, we're no different than a squirrel or a deer or any other animal. And if you meet the wrong one, and he's trying to follow his rules or their rules, is keeping quiet, taking you out is on the menu. So I hope this helped and answered the questions, this format of just going through one by one the major questions about his video. And I want to say to Mark that we're praying for him, that we support him, that I hope that the Lord continues to be with him and help him through this. This is a horrible thing, it's happened to him, and I applaud his bravery in speaking out and telling people what can happen. I've preached it now for a few years. This is not something you want to get into. This is not an activity for your family. This is not a fun activity, to go start doing, because there are unintended consequences. And Mark's is an extreme example, but it's more common than you would think, because doing what I do now, I'm the one that they're reaching out to, and it's more common than you think. It's better just not to open those doors to allow some of this stuff to start happening. So heed Mark's example and words. You don't want to mess with these things. You don't want to seek them out. Research is not a fun family activity. There are other things you can do. So play golf, camp, fish, hunt. Leave these things alone, and just be aware that they're there, just like anything else that's in the woods. Just be aware that there are dangers in the woods. There are things that you need to take precautions about. It's not a safe playground where there's no danger, or there's from bears, poisonous snakes, to all kinds of things. So it's not, even without the Sasquatch, in the wilderness, living out there, it's still, it's still a place. When you go, you got to take it seriously. You got to be sober about it. You got to take precautions. You got to be aware. You can enjoy it. You can have a lot of fun, but going out in the woods, going out in the wilderness, it's, like I said, it's not a playground. It's not a sterile, nothing out there can hurt you anymore type of place. And I think too many times it's portrayed that way, and people humanize wild animals to the point, give them names and give them human attributes, which they don't have. So be safe out there, be careful out there, and we'll see you next time.